A radiation therapy room in East Texas, March 1986. Voyne Ray Cox lies on the treatment table. The technician is in the next room, behind a shielded wall, watching her terminal. She types in the treatment parameters, notices a typo, hits the cursor key, types it again. Standard correction, takes maybe 3 seconds. She presses the button to fire the beam. Inside the room, Voyne Ray Cox feels a flash of heat in his back, like he's been struck by an electric cattle prod. He screams, he tries to get up. The technician hears nothing, the room is soundproofed, and the intercom is broken. On her screen, 4 words appear. __break. _8BD 51C82 _ treatment. Complete. You're listening to The Unlit Room. Every story in here actually happened. That's the part that should scare you. New stories every day, Monday through Saturday. Today, a multi-million-dollar cancer treatment machine quietly delivers lethal doses of radiation to its patients and tells the operators every single time that everything is fine. The machine was called the Therac-25. It was built in the early 1980s by a Canadian government-owned company called Atomic Energy of Canada Limited, AECL. The Therac-25 was a linear accelerator. Hospitals used it to treat cancer patients with high-energy electron beams or X-rays, aimed precisely at tumors. A normal therapeutic dose was about 200 rads, enough to kill cancer cells in a localized area without damaging the rest of the body. It was a precision instrument, the size of a small car, and it cost over $1 million in 1980s money. By 1985, 11 of these machines were in operation in hospitals across the United States and Canada. Patients trusted them. Doctors trusted them. AECL had built 2 earlier versions, the Therac-6 and the Therac-20, and neither had ever seriously injured anyone. The first incident happened in June 1985. Kenner Stone Regional Oncology Center, Mare EETTR, Georgia. A 61-year-old woman was being treated for a tumor in her shoulder. Halfway through the session, she felt a sudden burning pain at the entry point on her shoulder blade and reported it to the staff. She was sent home. Over the following weeks, the skin on her back broke down into a deep red wound that wouldn't heal. Eventually, her arm became paralyzed. The doctors couldn't explain it. AECL was contacted. A company engineer flew out, ran tests on the machine, found nothing wrong. The official response, in their professional opinion, this kind of overdose was, quote, impossible. The machine was returned to service. The patient was treated as an outlier. A medical mystery. 5 months later, in July 1985, in Hamilton, Ontario, another patient, a 40-year-old woman receiving treatment for cervical cancer, was hit by what the technician later described as a flash of light from the machine. She was rushed for tests. She died of complications 4 months later. AECL examined that machine too, replaced a microswitch, concluded the machine was safe, returned it to service. Here is what the people in those rooms didn't know. The Therac-25 wasn't malfunctioning by accident. It was capable of delivering somewhere between 15,000 and 25,000 rads in a single pulse. That's roughly 100 times the intended therapeutic dose. To put that in human terms, a normal whole-body radiation dose that would kill a healthy adult is about 400 rads. The Therac-25 could deliver 50 times that, focused into a beam the size of a coin in a fraction of a second. The patients who survived the first hit didn't survive the burn that came after. Radiation damage doesn't stop when the beam stops. It keeps unraveling tissue from the inside for weeks. Micro cliffhanger 1. And every single time it happened, the machine displayed the same message: treatment complete. As far as the software was concerned, nothing had gone wrong. The third confirmed incident was Voyne Ray Cox, the man from the cold open. East Texas Cancer Center, Tyler, Texas, March 21, 1986. After he was struck, Cox crawled off the table, pounded on the door, and tried to tell the staff what had happened. He was sent home. Within hours, his back swelled, then ulcerated. Within weeks, his arm and the side of his torso had gone numb. He died 5 months later. The autopsy confirmed acute radiation poisoning. 3 weeks after Cox was hit, the same machine in Tyler hit another patient, Verdon Kidd, 66 years old, being treated for a tumor on his face. The technician noticed the machine displayed an error, hit the proceed key like she always did, and the beam fired. Kidd died 3 weeks later from the dose. He was the first person ever confirmed killed by a software bug. This time, the physicist on staff at the T. Weiler Clinic did something AECL hadn't been able to do. His name was Fritz Hager. He sat at the terminal for hours after the second Twyla incident, retyping the exact sequence the technician had used over and over. He was trying to make the machine fail on purpose. A hardware fault has a physical fingerprint, a burned-out fuse, a stuck relay, a cracked sensor. You can hold it in your hand. A software fault is different. There's nothing to hold. The bug exists only in the moment the program executes a particular sequence in a particular order. Stop typing for half a second too long, and the bug doesn't happen. Type it the same way 100 times in a row, and the bug doesn't happen. It's a ghost. It's there. Then it's not. Then it kills someone, then it's gone again. AECL's engineers had been hunting a ghost for 10 months, and losing. Micro cliffhanger 2. Fritz Hager caught it. After hours of trying, Hager found the pattern. If the operator entered the prescription, then noticed a mistake, then used the cursor up arrow to go back and change the beam mode from X-ray to electron, and then completed the edit within 8 seconds, the machine would silently arm itself in a state that bypassed the magnets normally used to spread and weaken the electron beam. The beam would fire at full, undiluted intensity, 25,000 rads focused down to a point. The machine had no idea anything was wrong, because as far as the software's internal counter knew, it had completed the procedure correctly. 8 seconds. That was the window. If the operator was new and slow, the bug never triggered. If the operator was experienced and fast enough to correct a typo without thinking, the bug triggered. The fastest, most efficient technicians were the ones killing patients. AECL's engineers couldn't reproduce the bug because they typed the way you type when you're trying to find a bug. Carefully, slowly. Watching every keystroke. The technicians in the field typed the way you type after 8 years on the job, without looking. There's one more piece of this. The Therac negative 25 had error codes, lots of them. The most common one operators saw was a code called malfunction 54. It came up constantly, sometimes a dozen times a day, for minor issues that didn't affect treatment. Hospitals had learned to ignore it. The standard procedure when malfunction 54 appeared was to press the letter P for proceed and continue the session. When the bug fired the lethal beam, do you know what the machine displayed? __break, _E3056, E61, __malfunction 54. The same code the operators had been trained by years of routine to dismiss. The machine was telling them something was wrong. It just used the same language it had used to cry wolf 1,000 times before. The technician would press P, the patient would be hit, the screen would update. Treatment complete. Underdose detected. The machine thought the patient hadn't received enough radiation, so it offered to run the treatment again. By the time the FDA forced AECL to recall the Therac negative 25 in 1987, 6 confirmed overdoses had occurred. 3 patients were dead, 3 more were maimed, paralyzed, missing parts of their bodies, in pain that wouldn't end. The investigation that followed turned up something that should have ended AECL's medical division on the spot. The earlier Thea-AC models, the 6 and the 20, had also contained the same software bug, the same race condition, the same lethal 8-second window. The reason nobody had ever been hurt by the older machines wasn't because the software was safer. It was because those models had hardware safety interlocks. Physical mechanisms, fuses, magnets, switches that physically prevented the beam from firing at full intensity, regardless of what the software told it to do. When AECL designed the Thea-AC 25, their engineers made a decision. The hardware interlocks were expensive, mechanically complex, occasional points of failure. The software was reliable. They removed the hardware. They let the code be the only thing standing between the patient and the beam. For 10 months, after every incident, AECL had told hospitals the machine couldn't possibly overdose a patient. They were right that the hardware couldn't fail in any visible way. They just hadn't realized that the only thing they had left was the software. And the software had a bug. The Therac 25 case became the most cited disaster in software safety engineering. A researcher named Nancy Lev-Usson at MIT spent years digging through the wreckage. Every modern medical device you can think of, every infusion pump, every pacemaker, every robotic surgical arm, operates under regulatory standards that exist because of what the Therac 25 did to 6 people in 18 months. Hardware interlocks are mandatory again. Software is required to assume it might be wrong, and to fail in a way that's safe instead of a way that's quiet. But the part that stays with you isn't the engineering. It's that the machine never knew. The whole time it was killing people, it was reporting success. Patients screamed, operators pressed P. Family members watched their loved ones die over months from invisible burns. And on every screen, in every hospital, in every incident, the same calm 2-word message kept flashing. Treatment complete. The most dangerous failure isn't the one that crashes. It's the one that smiles at you and tells you everything is fine. If this one kept you up tonight, good. New stories every day, Monday through Saturday. Subscribe so the next one finds you too. Follow the Unlit Room wherever you listen. Tell a friend, but maybe don't tell them it's all real until after they've finished. Full story on the main channel. Follow if you're wide awake. That was the Unlit Room. See you in the dark.